Introduction: Can a young person change the course of history? Can a king, at the age of 19, lead a great army and restore Egypt's sovereignty? In this video, we will uncover the story of Ahmose I, the king of Egypt who faced the strongest invaders in its history, freed Egypt from occupation, and brought it back to its greatness and prosperity. From a tragic beginning, losing his father and brother, to the moment of victory at the Battle of Avaris, we will tell you how Ahmose was the first to establish the modern state of Egypt. Join us on this inspiring historical journey. Early life and early tragedy. In the heart of ancient Egypt, in the historic city of Thebes, Ahmose I, the future king of Egypt, was born. He belonged to the 17th dynasty, a family marked by struggle and conflict. His father, King Seqenenre, was the first to fight the Hyksos, the invaders who had seized Lower Egypt, but the war was harsh, and at the age of 7, Ahmose witnessed the first tragedy of his life, his father's death in battle against the Hyksos. To make matters worse, around the age of 10, his older brother Ahmose, who ruled after their father, died suddenly, leaving the throne to Ahmose, who was still very young. After the death of his brother, Ahmose assumed the throne at a time when Egypt was under the oppression of foreign invaders. Ahmose I's reign, from loss to strength. When Ahmose ascended the throne, he was about 18 years old, but his heart was filled with determination to expel the Hyksos. Despite his youth, he was resolute and unyielding. He began to build a strong army, learning from his father and brother's experiences in the art of war. Ahmose was known for his military acumen, using modern tactics in his war against the Hyksos, such as the chariot warfare that the Hyksos had introduced to Egypt. Ahmose's major military campaign against the Hyksos marked the beginning of a new era. He gathered his army from Thebes and started his campaigns from the south, where the Hyksos had infiltrated. He quickly moved towards the Hyksos capital, Avaris, now Tel El Daba, where he faced them in a decisive battle. This occurred around 1580 BCE and was a pivotal moment in the history of ancient Egypt. The Battle of Avaris and the defeat of the Hyksos. In the Battle of Avaris, the Egyptian forces under Ahmose were at the peak of their strength. Ahmose used a unique military tactic, surprising the Hyksos with chariots drawn by horses, a weapon they did not expect. The city was completely besieged, and the Hyksos armies faced great difficulty in repelling the well-executed Egyptian assault. However, the battle did not end within Egypt's borders. Ahmose pursued the Hyksos armies into Palestinian territory, where he defeated them at the fort of Sharuhin. This victorious campaign ultimately forced the Hyksos to surrender, and they never appeared in Egypt's history again. It marked the end of an occupation that had lasted nearly a century. Rebuilding Egypt after the defeat. After expelling the Hyksos, Ahmose faced significant challenges in rebuilding what had been destroyed during years of occupation. He began by reforming the internal structure of the country, reopening trade routes, organizing taxes, and developing the irrigation system. Egypt needed to restore the temples that had been ravaged by the Hyksos, and Ahmose rebuilt massive temples, focusing on reviving the worship of Amun, who became the official deity during his reign. Ahmose also opened new quarries to resume large-scale construction projects that had been halted due to the wars. He restored Egypt's control over the lands it had lost, including Nubia and Canaan, bringing the borders of Egypt to their greatest extent in the south and north. Ahmose's character and the establishment of the modern state. Ahmose was not only a warrior but also a wise king. He had a significant influence on Egypt's development, laying the foundations for the era of the New Kingdom, which would see Egypt's greatest prosperity in the following centuries. He reunited Egypt once again, ensuring internal and external security. Ahmose married many of his sisters, and his primary wife was Ahmose Nefertari. Together, they had many children who would continue his legacy, including his son Amenhotep I, who succeeded him on the throne. Ahmose laid down royal and religious foundations that would endure for centuries in Egyptian history. Other military campaigns and Ahmose's internal reforms. Ahmose began military campaigns southward into Nubia to regain territories lost by Egypt. He succeeded in restoring control over Nubia up to the Second Cataract, which helped secure Egypt's southern frontier and reclaim resource-rich lands. At the same time, Ahmose launched campaigns in Canaan to recover lands lost during the Hyksos period. Internally, the reforms that Ahmose initiated began to bear fruit. He reformed the tax system, improved agriculture, and rebuilt the temples and structures destroyed during the Hyksos occupation. Among the major reforms was the development of new irrigation channels in the Nile Delta, which helped boost Egypt's agricultural productivity. Death and legacy. Ahmose I passed away around 1570 BCE, at the age of 35, after a 25-year reign. His mummified remains were discovered in 1881 in the Deir el-Bahari cache, where his mummy was preserved alongside other kings of the 18th dynasty. His youthful features were still visible, giving the impression of a young man who became king and lived a life full of challenges and premature maturity. Ahmose I laid the foundations of what would become the new kingdom, leaving behind a great legacy that would last through the ages. Under his rule, Egypt reached the height of its military and economic power and began to rebuild its empire in the Near East. His influence on Egypt's history was profound, making him one of its greatest rulers. Additional information about Ahmose I. 1. Seqenenre-Tao and Kamose, his father, King Seqenenre-Tao, was the first to resist the Hyksos in Thebes. In the battle he led against them, Seqenenre was killed, leaving his sons in a difficult position. After his death, his brother Kamose took the throne and continued the war against the Hyksos in Upper Egypt. However, Kamose also died unexpectedly, leaving the young Ahmose to continue the task of liberating Egypt. 2. Use of chariots in warfare. Ahmose was the first to use chariots in battle against the Hyksos, having learned about them from the invaders. The chariots were a decisive weapon in the battle, giving the Egyptian army a significant advantage in speed and force. This tactic helped Ahmose overcome the Hyksos in field battles. 3. Internal reforms. In addition to military reforms, Ahmose implemented major tax and administrative reforms. He rebuilt the irrigation network damaged by the Hyksos during their occupation, reopened trade routes that had been closed due to the wars, and worked to restore Egypt's trade with neighboring countries like Nubia and Phoenicia, revitalizing the economy. 4. The Deir el-Bahari cache. Ahmose I's mummy was discovered in the Deir el-Bahari cache in 1881. This well-preserved mummy was uncovered by Gaston Maspero in 1886. This discovery revealed much about Ahmose I and confirmed the greatness of his reign. Conclusion. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this content about Ahmose I, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive all the latest updates.